Hello, and welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Terri Morrow, and I'm here with Catherine Haleko. Say hi, Catherine.
Hello.
Usually on this podcast, we talk about parenting issues, but once a week, Catherine and I like to get together to discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics, because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change. This week, we're talking about West Wing, and we're watching the movie Chef for our challenge round. But first, now that we don't have Dancing with the Stars to talk about every week, we had to find another show to watch and talk about, so we picked Master of None on Netflix, a show that is in its second season and has been getting quite a bit of buzz. We've heard it talked about on other podcasts, and we thought, hey, we could talk about it too. So we watched the first episode of the second season for this week, called The Thief. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you think of it, Catherine? First, let me ask you, did you watch all of the first season?
I did. Yes.
Okay. I left off somewhere partway through the episode that had Claire Danes in it.
Okay.
Not because I didn't like it, just because, as we have discussed here a ridiculous number of times, I don't have a lot of time to consume entertainment. Right. And things just fall, even Speechless, a show that I adore and relate to closely. I have like 10 episodes on my DVR. Mm-hmm. So something that I like, but I'm not,
right.
It just, stuff falls off.
Right.
So I didn't know whether I should watch the rest of the first season before starting the second season, but the fact that I was getting to this like last night suggested that probably I would not be doing that. So you will have a different perspective on it than me.
They had a little like catching you up on last season on Netflix, which I did not watch because I already watched that.
Yeah, I did not watch it either. Okay. I did not know it was there. So
it just started playing when I turned it on.
Did it? Maybe it did, and maybe I had watched so little of it that I didn't even really realize that's what it was. So I assume he wound up in Italy because he broke up with somebody.
Right. So he broke up with...
I think they said that in this episode.
The girl who he had been living with.
Okay. See, I don't think he was living with anybody when I stopped watching. So I missed quite a lot.
Yeah.
Our story thus far, I didn't feel like I needed really any background other than that he was sort of, had run away to Italy to get over an unhappy time, as one does in the movies and TV.
Right. And he, in some of the later episodes of the first season, had talked about how much he liked making pasta and he was good at it. And so he decided he wanted to go to Italy to really learn how to do it. So this first one took place in Modena, Italy. And I laughed so hard because when we went to Italy last year, I absolutely noticed the way that people always said this one particular word. And he did the same thing. Allora. They say all the time. It's like, it means like well or now or so, you just use it to start a sentence. Allora. Yeah. And they say it just like that.
How funny.
And it was totally like a theme in the episode. So that was a treat for me.
Yes.
Because you could ask my family if I came back from Italy saying one word, what was it? Allora. So
good to know. That's so fun.
It was really funny.
That a creator of something has noticed the same thing as you.
Yes.
That's cool.
So, and I thought his Italian was quite good, considering, he must have known some Italian before he went or something, because he was doing a pretty good job, and it was very charming, I thought, when he was speaking Italian and when he was hanging out with a little kid and he'd be like, why don't you come to the wine bar with us? He's like, I'm a kid, I don't drink wine.
That kid was a little child actor-y, but since he was Italian child actor-y, I guess it's okay.
Yes, but I agree.
The only problem with all the Italian being spoken, it was generally enjoyable, but it makes it difficult to watch while you're doing other things.
Yes, you do.
It's like, oh man, I have to stare at the screen. Maybe I could just kind of figure out basically what he's saying, which you usually could.
Yeah. Yeah.
Context is your friend.
It was fun, I thought, and I enjoyed getting back to it. Yeah, for sure.
It was fun. I have to admit that we talked yesterday on our speed round about things that make you happy as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things that makes me happy as an adult is knowing that I really don't have to watch things if I don't want to, and that I really can fast forward through things. You know, it's like I can skip a few chapters in the book if I don't like it. There's not going to be a test. Really, nobody cares. So I admit I did at the part where he thought he saw the phone thief and he wound up stealing somebody else's phone and everybody was piling up in the little alleyway. And I thought, you know what? I see where this is going. I'm just, what comes next?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Not that it was bad. It's very well made. It's very entertaining. He's wonderful in it. Everybody else is wonderful. I loved the little relationship with him and the girl he ate lunch with, and which then made me sad because she's going to think that he just didn't call her back. And
right, because his phone got stolen.
I don't need things in my life right now that may leave me feeling a little sad. So I thought, I'm not sure I want to keep watching this. You know, it's Linda Holmes, I think, often talks about things that good, but not for me. Mm-hmm. I kind of think that may be the case with this show.
Uh-oh.
I think I maybe
now
just
that we decided to watch the whole season.
Yeah, well, you may watch it and maybe I'll go find something. Maybe I'll go catch up with all my episodes of Speechless and talk about those. Nothing against it at all. I can see why people are raving about it. It's very, very well done. I just maybe don't have the attention span for beautiful things right now. And it seems like it's going to be that kind of show. You know, not real plotty, and things are just going to happen, and they leave you feeling how they leave you feel. And I respect that. I enjoy that. I appreciate it. There's been many times in my life where I have been crazy about that. This is maybe not one of those times. Okay. So we'll see. I'll watch another episode of it, and I think we should continue to have it as something we're watching.
Okay.
Because I don't want it to be like, well, I don't like this. I don't want to watch it.
And also, I think it might be quite different when he gets back to New York.
Well, from what I've heard about I made the mistake of listening to other critics talking about it, and it seems like each episode is kind of its own thing. Okay. And there's different styles and there's different things. But some of the stuff they talked about made me think, yeah, I want to skip that one. Okay. We'll see. I may dip in and out. And, you know, but listeners, not at all, because it's not good. It's not, it's not them, it's me. As they say.
I found it flew by for me. I liked it a lot. And, you know, part of it was just because I was cracking up over his fascination with the same word that I was fascinated with. Yeah.
Well, you have some background on this particular episode.
Yeah.
And, it's you know, it's very good. It's very well done. And not everybody has to like or want to watch everything. True. Which is why we have 5,000 different things to watch on TV right now.
Exactly.
And that's just Netflix. So,
Totally.
So, very good. And I'm amused to hear that you recognized so much of it personally that resonated with you. That's fun. That's the kind of thing that gives you some attachment to something that you want to keep checking in with it. Right. And so I'll be interested to watch another episode. I'm looking ahead at my schedule this week and going, all right. What they need is to get to the place and technology where you can just implant these things in your brain and you will already have watched it and be able to enjoy it without actually having to take the 20 to 30 minutes of time. That's the kind of entertainment I need. It'll be here. One day it'll be here. But we'll see. So what's the title of the next one? Well, we're watching episode 2.
Episode 2. I'm not quite sure what it's called. So,
okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, would recommend. Think it's very good. Just not sure my brain is in the right mode for it at this particular point in time. But the nice thing about Netflix, it's always there. If someday I happen to have...
Unless they take it away
I could
like
just
they
go...
did.
Yeah, I know, but it's one of theirs. It actually belongs to them, right? So,
yeah, and it's pretty new, so...
Yes. One day, perhaps, I shall wake up in the morning and say, you know what? I'm in the mood for that.
Today, I need some Aziz Ansari.
But I will watch the next episodes.
Good.
And see if I have the same feeling. I mean, I feel really bad not being enthusiastic about it because I recognize that it's good. I'm just exhausted. So I enjoy the familiar, like The West Wing,
right,
which I watched for the second time. We watched the episode, the 7th episode of season 3, which is The Indians in the Lobby, better known as the one where President Bartlet calls the Butterball hotline. And for that reason, it is greatly beloved.
Yes.
It is even, I believe, in the Extra Hot Great Canon.
Oh.
Pretty much for that scene. I remember listening to them talk about it, and I think that's why. But I think that scene is pretty wonderful.
I heard that podcast, and then I went online to watch that scene, and that is the only scene of this show I had ever seen before we started watching. So that's how great scene. That's how important this is.
And it does not get old, you know.
No.
I enjoyed it and laughed just as much this time as I did the many previous times I've seen it.
And I just love, like, even before he calls, when he just says, there should be a hotline. Yes. And Charlie just, yes, there is already a hotline. Like, yeah, it's staffed with experts. You call them up. He's like, what?
I love my country.
Right. So that's great.
And then he's on the phone and he starts talking and realizes he can't give his name and starts this
whole thing of having to make up a name, and then he needs help getting the zip code for North.
And he has to make up an address. And
right.
Then he's like, something given to him by the king of auto parts.
Right.
It's just wonderful.
Oh, it's so
goofy and funny.
Yes.
And one of those things that you wonder how that idea came up. Somebody must have discovered that was the case and just had that reaction to it. But that is so funny.
And also the very beginning where he's talking to CJ and she's just bored out of her mind.
Yes. Yes.
And that is such a good scene. And she says, when I came in here sometime in the late 1950s. I like that. And then how he says, you know how there's a line you're not supposed to cross? And it's behind you.
Yeah, but that's like, it's a throwback to, I think we've seen the episode already where he was boring Josh about national parks one time, and then it came around by the end of the episode that they wound up using the Antiquities Act to make something a national park. Mm-hmm. So there's a rich tradition of President Bartlet boring the pants off his staff.
Right.
And them having to sit there and take it.
Right. Exactly.
And I don't think this is the last one either.
Yeah.
But
I doubt it.
But the rest of it, I mean, I agree with the West Wing Weekly podcast. They mentioned pretty much the same thing I think about this is a revelation to CJ that there has been injustices to Indians. That whole plot is to Indians, to Native Americans. Mm-hmm. That whole plot is sort of like, and they do this from time to time, and in fact they do this in the very next episode, that the staff is shocked to hear that there is injustice in a situation where everybody knows there's injustice. Right. So, I can understand them wanting to do something about it, complaining about it, feeling badly about it, feeling deeply about it, but not being taken by surprise.
Right.
What world y'all live in there? So that plot has always bothered me. That's when I heard we were watching this one until I remembered it was the Butterball hotline one. I was like, that one.
Well, and I
so
thought
exciting.
they did have a good point on the podcast where they talk about how this is such a well used plot line for this show. Staff member is dispatched to take care of something, and then they find out, then they suddenly become passionate about an issue. Right.
Yes. That's just the way our dedicated staffers operate,
Right. Yes.
Feel things deeply.
Mm-hmm.
But, so I wasn't too crazy about that. And I sort of feel the same way about the Sam and Sam had the poverty plot. Was that in this one?
Yes, I believe it was.
Which is also seems like, haven't we had that discussion before?
Mm-hmm.
But I do love, it got turned around by the way that Bruno reacted to it in the end, the way he turned it around.
Right. The way
it was sort of worth it for that.
Mm-hmm. He was able to say in under 60 seconds, like,
yes,
a way to spin it that would be perfectly.
Yes.
Legit.
Poor Bruno, who apparently has nobody to spend the holidays with and wants to get a drink with Toby, but...
Toby's like, see ya.
But I also enjoyed the way that Bruno handled the president on the polling about where they should spend Thanksgiving.
Right. And then you also get the great scene of J'accuse.
Yes. And she also, I think, has a good point. Like, you know, this is what you're going to be upset about?
Right. After everything. Everything else.
Yeah. So their responses were good for that. Yeah. And then we had the Josh plot of the kid whose parents spirited him off to Italy after he killed his teacher, and they can't get him back unless they promise not to pursue the death penalty, which, you know, the payoff scene for that is him meeting this guy in the airport, a scene that reminded me of when Josh met Joey Lucas in the airport and how wonderful that scene was. Like, this plot line, not so much, but it was, you know, definitely the Butterball hotline bit is the reason anybody still remembers this episode at all. The rest of it is pretty disposable. Yeah,
it's not a lot that advances any other plot lines, you know.
Yeah. So, but that scene, listener, if you have not seen that scene, go onto YouTube and search for West Wing Butterball Hotline, and you can probably enjoy it right now.
It's out there. We could probably find a link to it.
Yes, we will link to it in our show notes.
I have for sure watched it before.
It is quite wonderful and hilarious, and you don't really need to know anything about the show to enjoy it.
Although you can appreciate it even a little more. I think, now that I know Charlie and Toby and President Bartlet a little better as characters, seeing them interact in that scene. And then on the West Wing Weekly podcast, they had Rishi Hirway's father, who's a food scientist, come on, which was adorable. So.
Yes, absolutely, and explaining the terrible things that can happen with bacteria.
Right.
So that was a fun episode of the podcast also. They were having fun with it. And Allison Janney's going to be on next week.
I know, exciting.
To discuss an episode that I really don't like very much. Okay. So it's like, does it have to be this one? I mean, I understand why this is the one they bring her in for, but...
It's called The Women of Kumar. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not looking forward to watching. Maybe I will use my newfound power to fast forward through things that I don't like very much to watch that in like 10 minutes. Well, we'll see. You know, there's been a few episodes so far that I have seen them coming up and thought, I don't want to watch that. And when I watched it, it was better than I remembered.
Right.
Perhaps this one will be. I don't wish to prejudice you against it.
Okay.
So we will move on now to something that, was also had some very fun things and also was largely about food.
That's right.
And I have to laugh. I started to watch this movie, Chef, on my little phone on my Netflix app. And then I thought, I don't want to watch this right now. It's too dark. I can't see it very well on the treadmill. So I switched to Master of None. And then I'm watching that for a while. And all of a sudden there's somebody cooking stuff. And there's this whole extended scene of cooking. I'm like, wait, did it flip? Did it flip back to Chef? What's the matter with my phone here? Is the app? No, but it was still Master of None. So yes. We watched Chef, the movie written, directed, and starring Jon Favreau.
That's right.
And I enjoyed it very much. I really liked it, and I was really glad that it was a challenge round thing that I had to watch. Because honestly, the first third where he's committing professional suicide by Twitter was really hard for me to watch. Yes. I kept watching a little bit and then stopping and watching a little bit and stopping. And that's the reason I couldn't get it done last night, is because I know what's going to happen. I see the whole movie is incredibly predictable. Yes. And you just know what arc is going to take place here. And mostly it is predictable in a way that I enjoy, where it's not leaning on the things that you know are going to happen. It's letting them happen. And certainly that sort of thing on Twitter is something to hinge a movie on. That's something that happens. You can see why it would happen. Nobody's really a villain. And yet, I just wanted that part to be over. I want to get to the part where he's down at his lowest point and starts moving up. That's where I go. Can I just fast forward to that part? But I didn't. I watched it.
When I was a kid, I used to read, what was that book? Like The Little Princess or the one where the girl was like super rich and in the boarding school and everyone loved her and then she lost all of her money and I would just stop reading.
It's like if I had just seen this movie on Netflix and said, "Oh, this looks good," and just started watching it, I would not have finished it. Mm-hmm. I would have stopped and said, "You know what? I am not in the mood for this year or
or ever
part of my life." But since I had to watch it, I did, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And then the part from where he goes to Miami on was just delightful. I just enjoyed the heck out of it. And I knew that at the end there was not going to be a bad thing, but in fact the food guy was going to come and say, "See, this is what you need to be doing."
Right.
I'm so happy for you.
Right.
I knew that. I could see that coming. It was just wonderful. I just enjoyed everything about it from that point on. And the first part, I can see where it needed to happen. But
although I will say, so
they could have sped it up a little bit.
Right. And, what happens is, Favreau is a chef and he's cooking in this restaurant that's owned by Dustin Hoffman. And
yes. Oh, the cast in this thing is ridiculous. Yeah, also, this is Jon Favreau called everybody in his Rolodex and said, "Hey, you want to be in my movie for 5 minutes?"
Right. Scarlett Johansson, Robert Downey Jr., John Leguizamo has a bigger part and is
he's wonderful.
He's great. I love him.
Oh my gosh, when he turned up there in Miami to help him with the food truck, it's like the light went on.
Yeah.
And from then on, it was just so fun. And that was great.
So but at the beginning, what you're talking about with the whole Twitter meltdown that he has, a food critic comes who happens to be played by Oliver Platt.
Yes, who I have to stop and think and not call Oliver Babish
now. So he gives Favreau's chef a bad review because basically he's not cooking his own food. He's cooking what Dustin Hoffman is telling him to cook.
Yes.
And he tries to say, like, look, we need to do something different. And Hoffman won't listen to him. And so then Oliver Platt's character gives him a bad review. And then it turns out that he, stuff's happening on Twitter. He doesn't know about it. He's not on Twitter. He gets his 10-year-old kid to sign him up for Twitter. And the kid tries to explain to him, he says it's like texting. The kid's like, "No, it's not like texting." And so then he sends a message to Oliver Platt and he thinks it's a private.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand Twitter. And that's the only thing I'm like, somebody of his age and profession probably would understand Twitter a little better.
You think? I don't know. That seemed like something that could happen, which is why I was like curling up into a ball as it was coming. It's like once the two guys he works with realize he doesn't understand what Twitter is, they're like, no, you don't want to go on there. It's fine.
Right.
Then he gets his kid to do it, and I'm like,
No.
Do not give old people technology. Nothing good can happen from this. I did not have a problem believing that.
Well, and you needed that because then you had the kid kind of becoming the social media whiz behind the success of the food truck.
Yes.
So
that was very cute when he was. I could have maybe done without the little Twitter things coming up on the screen and the little birds tweeting.
Yeah.
I went back and forth as to whether I thought that was cute or kind of annoying.
Yeah.
But
and it was hard to see if you were on the small screen.
I was watching it on my computer screen. It was hard to see. On my phone, it would have been impossible. But yeah, that was a little cutesy. Mm-hmm. But I really liked the kid doing that. I thought that was a great way to bring about crowds being there at every stop.
Yes.
That was very cutely done.
And just their relationship, I felt very real to me.
Yes.
The father and son.
Yeah. And something I really, really liked is that the ex-wife was not down on him, was not criticizing him for not being a good dad to the kid, was not, you destroyed your life, you don't have any money, where's my alimony? There was like all the general, ex-wife, mother of your kid beats that you would find in a movie were completely not there. She was just a completely different character. She just helped him at every point along the line and was always supportive and understanding. And
I liked that relationship too. Although I could have done without them actually getting remarried at the end.
I could have also. I thought that was a button that didn't really need to be. It
did not need to be there. I mean, I think the point was like, now that he's back to cooking for himself and, following his own heart, then he can be in a successful relationship again.
Right.
I see why they did it that way, but it wasn't really.
Yeah, and the Robert Downey Jr. thing, that just seemed like they maybe sat down on the set of Iron Man and said, so what's the weirdest thing we can have you do? Let's throw in, what if you had to wear booties in your office? What if you were constantly changing the subject within the middle of the sentence? Right. How can you just make me as uncomfortable as possible? That just seemed like weird for the sake of weirdness, which the movie otherwise did not particularly do.
Right.
But, I'll give him that.
Yeah.
It was a short scene.
Yeah, it was. And it's one of those, like, hey, isn't that Robert Downey? Oh, yeah, it's Robert Downey Jr.
Exactly, yeah. It was a, hey, isn't that kind of movie. Mm-hmm. Lots of recognizable people.
The kid's name is MJ Anthony, and I feel like he looks familiar, but when I looked him up on IMDb, I didn't recognize.
I did exactly the same thing, and I also didn't. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know why. He's just a very real looking kid, I guess. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But sort of watching this, I was kind of wondering, I wonder if Twitter got some kickbacks on this. It's like Twitter is like a character in this.
Yeah, it really is.
It's, it engineers his destruction and also his redemption. And it's sort of like, and they had, like we've mentioned, the graphics, all this stuff. It's really, they could have had to make it some fake social media name, as movies sometimes have to do. So, but it struck me as the kind of thing we notice in The West Wing and Sports Night a lot, is that like Sorkin sees something and it gives him an idea to do something about that. Mm-hmm. I wonder what happened to Jon Favreau, that he had some run-in with somebody on Twitter and he thought, there's a movie in this.
Right.
The fact that it turns out to be about a chef is maybe, it's very good, and I loved all the food pictures and everything, but essentially it's about the role that Twitter plays in professional lives. I mean, I think this followed, I read his movie Cowboys and Aliens that did not do very well, so maybe he had some run-ins with somebody online.
Could be.
As indeed in West Wing, we're about 9 episodes away from the episode that has the lemonlyman.com, which is his response to his terrible experience on television without pity. Mm-hmm. So you kind of wonder if this is how inspiration for something like this came up. If an inspiration to do a movie about a chef came up, or if an inspiration to do a movie about Twitter came up.
Yeah.
And then they decided to make it about a chef. But
either way,
the food all looked wonderful and made me want to eat it. Especially early on in the movie, he makes his kid a grilled cheese sandwich. Mm-hmm. And then he starts eating it while he's talking to the kid, and it's like, give me a bite. Right, I want that. Right. I want that. It looked so luscious.
And if you watch the movie to the very, very, very end of the credits, there's a scene with him and Roy Choi, who is like the consultant, because he's a food truck guy, and he was involved in this. He's like a famous LA food truck person and chef and author, and there's a little scene of him, there's a little footage of him teaching Jon Favreau how to do the grilled cheese.
Oh, cool.
Because, and I
did not see that, because Netflix makes it like postage stamp size for the rest of the credits. So I should have stayed on. I'll have to go look for that.
And I did notice that it seemed like his knife skills were good. I don't know if those were really his hands. Maybe they were somebody else's, but it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it was, all the food and cooking stuff seemed very real. The food truck got fixed up pretty nice, pretty fast.
Yes.
But I'll give you that. I really don't want to see that happening. Mm-hmm. So, well, I guess they left for the night, and then John Leguizamo's many family members came, and suddenly it was kind of this beautiful, gleaming, pristine, nicely painted thing with a good sound system.
Exactly.
We'll just let that go. Mm-hmm. But I enjoyed it very much. Good. I would recommend it to anybody with who wants to watch something very pleasant and happy, you might want to fast forward through you know what happens in the first part. Catherine just told you. You can skip ahead.
Exactly.
But, it's the kind of movie I enjoyed because it was mostly, that part was people being successful and happy and doing things with their friends. And that's the kind of thing I like. And that is actually the kind of thing that I am challenging you to watch next.
Okay.
Which is not something I believe you will need to fast forward through any difficult parts because
there are none.
The show is Cougar Town and it's pretty goofy. It's pretty silly. It's pretty much friends doing fun things together.
Good.
With a minimum of trauma and stress. I haven't watched these 3 episodes in a while. Perhaps there's trauma and stress hiding in them. I don't recall it.
Okay.
But there is somebody eating through a bread bowl and getting soup in his lap, which I guess would be stressful. Something I have always personally worried about. But anyway, I am challenging you to watch 3 episodes from Cougar Town's 3rd season.
Okay.
They're episode 1, Ain't Love Strange, episode 5, One Story Town, and episode 11, Down South. I've been trying to think if there's anything you really need to know before watching these. You have not watched any Cougar Town, is that right? No. Okay, other than the videos I gave you.
Which were very funny.
It started its life out as a show about Courtney Cox as a divorcee dating young guys. And it quickly got out of that, but unfortunately was saddled with the name Forever. Mm-hmm. So you'll notice on the opening credits, they have a funny tagline under Cougar Town every week. At this point in season 3, it's really just about this group of friends called the Cul-de-sac Crew, centered around Jules Cobb, who's played by Courtney Cox. And we have her boyfriend Grayson and her ex-husband Bobby, her son Travis, her best friend Ellie and Ellie's husband Andy, and Jules' friend Lori. And they just basically all hang out together, drink a lot of wine, and have funny adventures. So, there's various plot lines moving through this season. Sort of Travis likes Lori, and she knows it, but it's a difficult situation because she's older and she's his mom's friend. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of, there's an unspoken thing going on there.
Okay.
Or I guess it got spoken a little bit at the end of season 2. And you will notice between the first episode you watch and the second episode you watch that Travis is suddenly wearing a helmet. He had a head injury somewhere in between there.
Oh, wow.
So that's why he has a helmet. He was doing, as I recall, I can't remember what exact conveyance he was on, but he was doing something stupid on a wheeled thing. So it was part of the comedy. But anyway, he had to wear this goofy looking helmet for a while. So I hope you will enjoy it. And I am looking forward to watching those again. And I may just go ahead with my ample free time and watch the entire 3rd season.
And we discovered that the best place to get them was the library, I think.
Yes. Perhaps your library has it. I wound up buying the DVD. Amazon had the DVD for like $6, which is about what it would cost to watch 3 episodes on iTunes. You can also buy them on iTunes episode by episode. Unfortunately, I cannot find any way there should be a way to watch them online. But looking around the TBS, the show started on ABC and then it went to TBS. Mm-hmm. TBS website has episodes, but it looks like they're charging for them. Oh. Maybe they're just charging for the ABC ones. And they're not on the ABC site. So I could not find any place free to watch them online. I could have bought them on iTunes. You might want to check Amazon if they're still on sale. It's a pretty good deal. Because there's a lot of good episodes. That's a really good season.
Or check your local library. Season.
Or check your local library. Or, you know what? Go on YouTube and you can probably watch the highlights of a lot of them. Look for Grayson's morning routine song for the beginning of episode 1. Okay. So, all right. And that is going to be it for round 2 today. Please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so you won't miss any of our episodes, including our daily speed rounds and weekly group chats. As always, you can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Goodbye, Catherine.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.